Old computers are great, but they can be expensive to buy, hard to keep running, and they also take up a lot of space. However, if you want to have the experience of using an older system the easy way, there are modern recreations of several classic systems available. Let's take a look at some of my favourites in chronological order. The PDP-8i was one of the family of PDP-8 mini computers from DEC, and it was the first really successful computer of its kind. First versions of the PDP-8 were based on diode transistor logic, but it was sold for over 14 years, by which time it had evolved to use ICs. This scale model of the PDP-8i runs on a Raspberry Pi, but has authentic lights and switches and runs the same operating system as the original, thanks to the SimH emulation software. The Kenbach one is considered by many to be the first personal computer. It was designed by John Blankenbaker in 1970, and about 40 were sold. They had no CPU as such, or a display, or even serial ports, but you could program them and watch the code run on the lights on the front. The Micro Kenbach is a kit version, and it's a scale model with the same front panel based on an 18 mega chip. I've made a slightly larger case for this one and added a serial port for the heck of it. The Altair 8800 is an iconic computer. It was the first really successful computer kit, bringing an 8080 CPU to hobbyists and even small businesses who could hook up terminals, paper tape readers, disk drives and printers to make a genuinely useful computer system. The Altair Arduino kit is based on an Arduino board and comes with probably all the most useful software ever made for it on a single SD card. The PDP-11 was another range of computers from DEC, and this is the 1170 variant. It was a 16-bit machine with up to 4 megabytes of memory and optional floating point circuitry. The design of its CPU inspired the Motorola 68000 and the Intel x86 processors. This kit has a lovely injection molded case and authentic looking switches on a front panel. It also runs on a Raspberry Pi using the SimH emulator. You can connect multiple terminals to it, just like the real thing, and run a version of Unix. Perhaps best known for its appearance in the movie War Games, the IMSAI 8080 is one of the first clones. It copies a lot of its features from the Altair 8800, although with a lot more style and an extra set of LEDs. This IMSAI kit is a full-sized version, well, except in depth and weight, of the original, and uses a web interface to give you access to all the bells and whistles of a very well-spec'd CP/M system. The ZX81 was my first computer, and so has a special place in my nerd heart. By far the most important specification was the price. At under £100, it was the cheapest home computer available in the UK by a large margin. It came with 1 kilobyte of memory, which made programming anything difficult, although that didn't stop us writing various stupid games. Once we could afford the 16K RAM pack and stopped it wobbling, we moved on to bigger and better games, and learnt a little Z80 machine code along the way. This version is called the Minstrel III, and it's a lovingly designed Z80 based recreation. I've put this one in an old Timex TS1000 case, as the ZX81 was known in the US. I've also added an ZXSpand board so I can load 3D Monster Maze from SD card without having to wait 5 minutes for it to load from tape. A successor to the VIC-20, the Commodore 64 was a hugely popular 1980s home computer, the best-selling of all time in fact. With a 6502 processor, appalling built-in BASIC, it had the best graphics and sound of the time. The SID audio chip is really distinctive. It had a huge catalogue of games on tape, disc and cartridge. The awful version of BASIC forced home developers to jump into assembly language quickly, and much of today's computer industry benefited as a result. This is the C64, a full-sized working copy of the 64, although it does away with discs and tapes and comes with a catalogue of games built in and more available by adding them with a USB flash drive. In fact, this is the mini C64, which doesn't have a real working keyboard, but it's so cute. After the success of the ZX81, Sinclair released the ZXSpectrum. With 16 or 48K of memory, a rubbery keyboard, colour and sound, it was a staggering improvement, and British school kids like me went crazy for it. This is the ZXSpectrum Next, A computer that shipped early this year after a 3-year Kickstarter campaign finally delivered. It's sort of based on the Spectrum 3 Plus, but it can emulate all kinds of things, and it's a work of art. A second Kickstarter is promised soon.